Speaking about Game of Thrones, is politics and Game of Thrones similar?
Very much similar.
Okay.
Exactly similar.
Power moves, moves.
In Andrew Haywood, in Introduction to Political Sciences, says that politics is the exercise of power, the exercise of authority, the making of collective decisions, the allocation of scarce resources, and at the end he says the practice of deception and manipulation. So
99 FM, your inspiration station. Yes, please and thank you. This entire week we've been covering this man. We've been speaking about his upbringing. We've been speaking about his political journey. Since Monday, we've been giving you a piece of him every day. As a matter of fact, yesterday we played you a clip of him debating in the parliament, and we gave you just a little bit action of what he can do. And we've been promising you that we will be bringing him on air this morning. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have the man himself in studio. Mr. Maximalian, good morning.
Good morning and good morning to your listeners.
How are you, good sir?
Good, and thank you for having me here.
Are you a morning person? What's the earliest you are out of the door?
I'm pretty much a morning person. You know, politicians, the problems are many and endless. So you cannot afford to be sleeping. You are
you
sort
have to
of
be
a soldier.
up and
you
out.
have to be up and out as soon as possible.
Now let's jump right into it. What motivated you to pursue a career in politics, especially at such a young age?
Well, I think I've always been a very peculiar kid, if I can describe it best. I did participate in the normal activities that kids normally participate in, but I was interested in things that a normal kid would not be interested in. For example, I know that I started watching CNN, for example, and serious news, current affairs at like grade 3. That's the earliest I can remember. And then when I was about in grade 6, I asked my English teacher that time to provide me with a thick book about world politics, and particularly American politics, because I wanted to understand the politics of the day. So I've always been interested in politics from a very young age, and I would, when I go to the farm, I would take a bunch of newspapers and books with me, and then our grandmother would say, "Oh, that lazy kid, he's always reading at the back of the room while he has to tend to the cows." So that's how I always grew up. And then when I got to high school, I went to Yanmore. I set up the first NANSO branch, the Namibia National Students Organization, and I was the first branch chairperson of Yanmore. You know, Yanmore is a school that was created by the apartheid administration. In fact, it was the first school that was created by the apartheid administration. Yanmore is named after Yanmore, who was the first director of education for Southwest Africa at that time. So it has a particular authoritative instrument about it. It does not allow these things of student activism and so forth. So it was quite a risk for us to set up that NANSO branch there.
Wow.
And that was the first branch that was there. And then I was the inaugural chairperson of the NANSO branch at Yanmore. After I graduated, I matriculated from Yanmore, I went to the University of Namibia, where I enrolled for a Bachelor of Arts in Politics and Sociology. And then I enrolled also for student politics. I joined student politics almost immediately, first serving as the faculty representative for the humanities and social sciences. Then I served as the spokesperson for the SRC, and then I served as the Speaker of Parliament, the Speaker of Student Parliament for the SRC. And also during that time, I then joined the PDM Youth League. And then the rest, they say, is history.
It's history.
Yeah.
It's history. Going deeper into your career, what have been some of the biggest challenges you've faced, especially as a young MP, and how have you navigated them?
Well, you know, being a young MP is being in a very unique and sometimes also challenging
position.
Space. But because I joined politics and student politics from a very young age. For example, NANSO politics was a copy and paste of, for example, party politics. So I was prepared for politics.
From early,
because we were groomed through the system. Although at a much smaller level. We grew up in the politics. So I was always prepared for politics, although the challenges may be here and there. I think the biggest challenges for a young politician is not necessarily the parliamentary politics.
Oh, okay.
That's not the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge for a young parliamentarian is internal party politics.
Aha.
Yeah, that is the most difficult element to learn. And if you don't learn it earlier, you are going to have difficulty in politics, because you first have to, iron out the internal party politics for you to make it at the national level. Because if you don't make it there, you're not going to make it anywhere. So I think for any aspiring young politician, you must know that you must first learn your internal party politics, because that's the most difficult element.
Nice. What do you enjoy most about your role as an MP, and what do you find most challenging? So what's the most enjoyable thing, and what's the most challenging?
Well, this is a constitutionally mandated function. We do not take it lightly at all.
Okay.
Because we are, in terms of the Constitution, mandated to serve our people. And I think the most, satisfying element about the job is you say something in Parliament about a particular plight of a particular community, and then that particular issue gets national attention, and then that particular community is able to be assisted. I think that, above anything else, is one of the most satisfying elements about being an MP, because you directly influence the lives of people. I remember, for example, when I first got into Parliament in 2022, there was this issue that I was so passionate about, which was the interns at the city of Windhoek, one of those issues. And then I raised a question to the Minister of Labour about the fact that you have, hundreds and hundreds of interns on contract workers at city of Windhoek who have been there for ages.
Yeah.
But this person, he's now been there for 10 years, he's 31 years old or 30 years old, and he's just on a contract of 3,000. How do you explain that? And then right immediately after I posed that question, there was a shaking up of the system at City of Windhoek. And it's those sort of things that makes the job very satisfying.
Lastly, because we know you're a very busy man and we don't want to keep you here all day, is there anything you would like to share with our listeners, leave them with? But before that, people would like to know, what do you do on your downtime? What do you do when you're free, when you kick your feet off, when you let your hair down? What is it you do when you just chill?
Well, I'm a very straightforward and boring politician. I can guarantee you that. When my free time is spent mostly, reading, especially watching documentaries, catching a few episodes here and there of Game of Thrones, going to watch football and so forth. But the typical.
The typical life of a politician.
The typical life of a politician. We cannot indulge in much as politicians.
Got you.
One of the few things that I always say sometimes to myself is that, in as much as I enjoy being a politician, there is so many restraining factors in terms of your social life.
A lot.
You cannot go to the club and you are now on the top of the table. Like we used to do when we had drinking the whole
Those days are gone.
Those days are gone because, you have to be...
You have a social responsibility.
Who is watching me here? Who knows me? Am I going to be reported that I was on top of the table tomorrow morning and so forth? So those are the issues that you have to take into consideration.
I just want to jump in here quickly. Speaking about Game of Thrones, is politics and Game of Thrones similar?
Very much similar.
Okay.
Exactly similar.
Power moves, chess moves.
In Andrew Haywood, in Introduction to Political Sciences, says that politics is the exercise of power, the exercise of authority, the making of collective decisions, the allocation of scarce resources, and at the end he says the practice of deception and manipulation. So it's politics is like
the Game of Thrones.
It's the Game of Thrones.
Good, sir. And there we have it. Thank you so much, Mr. Max, for coming through and spending time with us.
Thank you very much.
And there you have it. Politics is almost like the Game of Thrones.
That was 99 FM's Royal Hustlers.
Proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation.
Good today, better tomorrow.